to ask you about Dynamite Kid. Such a polarizing figure, but such an important figure in wrestling history, really ahead of his time. But he had a story where when his back was really done and he knew he was hurting pretty bad, Vince wanted them to drop the titles, the Bulldogs, that is, and he wanted them to drop it to Volkov and the Iron Sheik. But as the story goes, the Bulldogs refused and requested instead the Hart Foundation. Do you believe that story to be true?
I've never heard it, so I don't know.
Well, the match is sort of the impetus for Danny Davis to turn heel and go from being a referee to more of a wrestler. We haven't spent a lot of time talking about dangerous Danny Davis. What can you tell us about him?
Danny Davis was a referee. He was part of the ring crew from, upstate Massachusetts, and I think or New Hampshire, but anyway, in the Northeast, one of the Yankee states up there, and I guess I should say up here.
Yeah, that's where you live now.
That's where I'm doing the podcast from right now, Conrad. So, but Danny was part of the ring crew, and Danny was a referee, and I don't even know if Danny had worked before. I would imagine he had, but I don't know. But they had this idea for a heel referee, and then your payoff for the heel referee is eventually you've got to get to him. So Danny ended up working. Danny wasn't a great worker, but Danny knew how to get heat, and Danny had heat everywhere he went. It was just, man, people wanted to see Danny Davis get his ass kicked, and he did it very well. So it was like great guy, and it was somebody I think that Vince was happy to do something for and put him in that position to where it was like, here was a guy that is on the truck and he's ring crew and he's referee and he's there day in, day out, man, making the grind. And he gets an opportunity to live his dream and work. But not only that, to be in a position of, man, he was a big time heel. The audience hated his guts. That's a good thing.
Brett would write in his book, I looked down at my new belt, realizing what being a champion had cost Tom. I wondered what it would cost me. In that moment, I vowed never to forget that wrestling is a work, and I also vowed to pace myself for the long haul. I wanted to come out on the other end in one piece. That's directly from Brett's book, and what a statement it is. And of course, we know he too would have his career cut short due to injury. But do you think that was a cautionary tale? Dynamite Kid being injured so badly, beating himself up so badly, so young that he had to retire so young?
I think that's always been a cautionary tale for people. Old timers, whenever, every generation changes and every generation evolves. If you live and you stay in quote, your time or your heyday, you don't grow. Man, you get old and you die. But unless you're evolving, changing with the times, and continuing to grow, then it doesn't work. And I think a lot of the old timers would look at any of the new kids coming in and whatever they did. You keep doing that, kid, your career is not going to be too long. And in days past, you go back to the good old days of the 60s and the 70s and the 50s, before that, where guys didn't do a whole lot. And then you have these younger kids that they realize, well, when I take a bump, the crowd pops. So I get a reaction. That's a good thing. And if I take more bumps, I'll get more of a reaction. And they mistake that sometimes for getting over. And as the business evolves, you've got to change with it. And sometimes you've got to do more things, but there's ways to do it safely. There's ways to do things, to do more by doing less. So I think that was the precautionary tale. And no matter who you talk to from whatever generation, I think that a lot of the guys from yonder year look at talent and look at performers today and say, they're doing too much. And they are. there's a smart way to do it. And I think that's what Brett was kind of alluding to. There's a smart way to make this work and for it to all make sense and make my career just longer and not have to worry about my body breaking down in the process. And I think for the most part, I think Jim and Brett both were pretty good examples of that. Brett would ground you. Brett would set the pace and didn't do a lot of crazy stuff, but his work was exciting and it was still good because he did it when he needed to do it. And that's the key. And I think that's pretty much what he was saying there. Whereas, Dynamite, I think, took a lot of high risk and sometimes unnecessary high risk just for that holy shit moment. And the body only has so many holy shit moments in it. After a while, it's just like, oh shit. And it's all gone.
So listen, the Danny Davis deal and the Hart Foundation winning the tag straps actually sets up the WrestleMania 3 match. It's the Hart Foundation and Danny Davis taking on the Bulldogs and Tito Santana. It's a 6-man match. It's going to be Danny Davis's first televised match. It's crazy that Dynamite Kid's actually able to make it, but WrestleMania payoff, you don't want to miss that. And the big Rhino, Brett and Danny get the win. This had to be a pretty proud moment in the Hart family. Can you imagine how excited Stu was? See his boys out there working in front of 93,000 people. This is a big deal.
Yeah, to get the big, the fucking the big Rhino and the Brett, the straight guy. I don't know who the fuck that is. He's a referee. The fucking thing. Yeah, I'm very excited.
WrestleMania 3 comes to an end, and
You're
here you are.
in there. You ever wrestle? You go back to the shot where the thing is already. You there, you big. Maybe you come down to the basement.
I'm gonna stay up here.
Yeah, you see your wrist there, big fella.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay up here.
Yeah, you look tough. Yeah.
No thanks. I'll just be
rude.
So listen, WrestleMania.
What about that Silver fella?
No.
Take him and
I'm not going to advocate for that. I know how this ends.
Any of his relatives. I'll stop now.
Thank you.